It's too bad that there's a shadow in my face. Maybe next time you'll do better, but thank you very much. And so I guess art is kind of in the eye of the beholder, but so that was kind of it kind of brought me down back to earth, you know, in a very real way. So this is in Sisyan, also a southern town in Armenia. Sometimes the churches there are not inhabited, and this is the church sort of keeper. He was the only guy in the whole town that holds the keys to the church, and so we had to find him and ask him to let us in so that we could see this church, and this is him basically waiting for us to visit the church, and then, you know, he was going to close up behind us, and the light came in just so at that moment. This is Gevart. Many of you who have been to Armenia have been here. It's very, very, very old. I think it's like 400, the oldest part of it is 400 AD, built into the side of a mountain. This is a place not many people visit. It's in the Lori region. It's called Kobayr. And it's interesting because this church, part of it has fallen into a gorge, and so the frescoes are sort of outdoors. They're exposed to the elements, which on the one hand is obviously not good for them, but on the other hand makes for very interesting photography because the sun actually illuminates the frescoes, whereas in most of the other churches you don't see that. This is the last image in the first part of my series. This is a church called Halartsin. It's in Dilijan, again, northern Armenia. And I don't usually photograph churches, but this one for me is more a portrait of a soul in a way. It's kind of a soul in hibernation. It's a very quiet image, and I think sort of encapsulates the beauty and majesty of Armenia. So that's the first part of my presentation. Now I would like to show you my Separated Families project. The project is called Not Here, but it's also a play on the word not there, as in neither here nor there. It was named by the people in the project. I did extensive interviews with the families I photographed, and over the theme that came up was, in Armenian, voch aysterenk, voch aynterenk. We're neither here nor there. The family is back in Armenia, one person has left, is working abroad, sending money back home, and there was this constant feeling of never being really in the present of their lives. So before I launch into the photographs, I thought you might be interested in knowing what the statistics are behind the labor migration issue in Armenia. Since 1990, since the collapse of the Soviet Union, approximately 700,000 people have immigrated from Armenia, which is about 26% of the population, almost 27%. These are the official statistics, of course, and that's based on the official number of about 3 million people. Most people go to Russia, for obvious reasons, for language. There is the language barrier in other CIS countries. About 10% come here to the United States, and then the rest go to Europe and to the other European countries. So this was a fascinating statistic for me in terms of how much money is actually going back to Armenia from the labor migrants. $2.5 billion in remittances goes back to Armenia every year. And that makes up 1/5 of the country's GDP. The form in which it goes back is cash, obviously, but not just cash, food, clothing, electronics, vehicles, all kinds of different things. And in this project, when I was photographing these families, I actually documented this, and now you'll see some images. Of the families who do receive remittances, it makes up for 80% of their household income. So it's a big chunk of these families' livelihood back in Armenia. And the way that basically the Wall Street Journal and the World Bank and all these organizations know that is that the wire transfers are documented, as well as this widespread household survey was done. So that's how this information came to be. So I've been photographing 9 families over the course of 3 years. I'm going to show you only 3 here because for time reasons. and just introduce you first to the people here, and then we're going to go to Armenia and meet their families. The first is Silva. She has been away for about 3 years from Armenia, and she left behind a daughter, a son, 6 grandchildren, and a large extended family. She is, at the moment, completely undocumented, came here on a tourist visa, and basically disappeared into the shadows, shadow economy. That's a portrait of her. One of the questions I obviously ask everybody is, how did you end up here? Why did you leave? And obviously, a lot of times it had to do just pure economics, but sometimes it had to do with family issues. In Silva's case, she was a victim of domestic violence for 30 years. She was married to an extremely violent man who tried to kill her several times. Finally, and this is a really fascinating story, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She, in order to kind of escape from her husband, she actually bought him an apartment. So she purchased her husband a studio apartment and gave him the keys and said that basically if you leave me and my children alone, you can have this apartment. And the husband agreed. And she had a massive amount of debt because of that, and so decided to try her luck and apply for a tourist visa, and online found a family in Northern California who needed a nanny, and gets on a flight with a tourist visa, not knowing one word of English, and just knows the description of the guy who's going to pick her up at the airport. And that's how she came here to California. And so that's the story of how she ends up here. Here she is in her home here in Los Angeles. And this is what she does. She is a caretaker for an elderly lady, and pretty much her life consists within the 4 walls of this home. I spent a lot of time with the people you see in these images in very intimate, personal settings, home life, kitchen life. And after a while, they kind of just didn't even notice I was around, like this image. There was sort of an argument going on between Silva and the daughter of the family, and the lady she takes care of is kind of cracking up and laughing about it. This is the grandchild in this family that Silva also takes care of. So I asked her when she sends stuff home to Armenia, and she said, oh, I just go to the store and I buy all this stuff, and I said, okay, well, I want to come with you. I want to check it out. So we went to Smart and Final together, and this is basically what she sends to Armenia every month. It's grains, it's rice, it's lentils, it's anything that won't perish on the way. And, all kinds of things, toys for the 6 grandchildren. And she puts them in this box. I'm sure you've had this experience or you've heard about it. There are these places in Glendale where you can go and you can stuff boxes. $35, you can even send rocks. It doesn't matter how heavy it is. As long as it fits into this box, it will be sent for $35. So that's what she does. And here she is writing her daughter's name on the box, Anush. So here's Silva at home in Los Angeles. And now we're going to go and meet her family in Armenia. So this is the family and extended family in Armenia. Daughters, son, sisters, brothers, grandchildren, children, nieces, nephews, the whole thing. So what I'd like to do in this project is show a juxtaposition of life here and there, since so much of the project is about being here and there and not here and not there. And so this is one of my juxtaposition images where Los Angeles is on the left and Armenia is on the right. And I think it's maybe one of the best ways to show what I found in this project, in that the people who leave are so solitary here. Yet there's sometimes this image in Armenia that the life is better here, or in some way, if you leave, it's better. But many of the people I photographed and that I interviewed who are here are very much living a very solitary, lonely kind of lifestyle. Yet they continue to do it, and they feel that they should do it because of how much good it does for the people back home. In this family's case, it's done a huge amount of good because Silva, on the money she made in Los Angeles, has purchased an apartment for her daughter.